decrease neurogenesis. How about sex? Oh, wow. Yes, you're right. It will increase the production of new neurons. However, it's all about balance here. We don't want to fall in a situation about too much sex leading to sleep deprivations.
So yes, I wanted to take the opportunity today to discuss like an important topic, which is the topic of neurogenesis, but only a specific aspect of neurogenesis that I want to focus on in this particular moment in time. Yeah, probably a particular point of neurogenesis that I want to focus on. Um, as the previous video has actually demonstrated, um, what if people don't really if you don't know what neurogenesis is the process of generating new cells within the brain in order to have the capability of reconstructing what it is, be it memory or your own particular being. So for example, if you smoke for my example, I'm a person coming from a background of smoking a lot of weed from a very young age, as well, not the youngest age, but again at the same time from a youngish age. Not off and on, but mainly more recent, sort of in my later ages, more on and off, more frequently, right? In my life, and throughout that process of actually smoking that weed, it damages the brain cells to a degree, as what you've probably heard from people discussing previously, how that can actually impact us or impact an individual. So in order for me to be able to achieve what it is that I set out to achieve, and for me to be able to optimize my workflow efficiently, it's very important that I undertake that process of neurogenesis in order to regenerate the cells that I've damaged and the cells that I've lost throughout that process, right? I think that's very important, and very relevant in the whole schematics of things. And in me saying that, it becomes quite difficult to define exactly the things that get us there, right? There's a whole bunch of steps involved in the neurogenetic process, and these things include mind, body, and spirit. And not only that, diet is also a part of it, right? And these things are very fundamental to the schematics of how one restructures their self being, right? And not only that, also in attitude, the people you hang around with, they also affect your neurogenetic patterns as your cells take form. So if you want to shape yourself from particular relationships also that you experience, they shape your neurogenetic pathways to a certain degree. It doesn't change who you are, but it does change an aspect of yourself. So if you want to accustom that, because I've got a whole story in relation to how I actually came to this realization during my offensive security studies, or my security studies. So basically just been hacking all these systems, and I sort of just found that difficulty in focus. And then I realized why that was due to my neurogenetic pathways, how those things there were wired, based on how I grew up and based on a number of different factors um, throughout this process. So the one thing that I want to discuss about today is a particular important topic relating to neurogenesis. I might go into all the other topics later on, but there's a one particular topic that I'd like to discuss today, which is my own solution to engineer one of the more difficult aspects of neurogenesis. So this is one of the more complicated things to cater for throughout the neurogenetic engineering or re-engineering process. Yeah, so basically now it's a bit more better in relation to face tracking and whatnot, because it behaves a bit weird, because I think that it's because of the sunlight or whatever. Natural sunlight makes it a bit more difficult to catch certain definitions. But then again, so when we come to this, the aspect of neurogenesis that I would like to discuss is the sexual section, because as seen from the video before, it is something that's actually quite beneficial, but it's quite difficult to achieve properly in relation to just like, the whole process is actually quite complicated, because you need a partner that's also willing to understand what it is that you are trying to achieve. They have to be willing to undergo and be in the same level of understanding, on the same level of thinking as you. And it's just quite difficult to achieve, personally, from my point of view, because that's definitely important from a neurogenetic perspective, especially when you're engineering the environment, when you're engineering the methodologies just to achieve that restructuring of the brain pathways. It sounds a bit cliched, but it's a hazy theory which is somewhat right. So basically, yeah, that's pretty much it, really. And yeah, so I've taken a pretty drastic approach to this, and it's quite embarrassing to even discuss as well, because it's just one of those things that's just like, like, you really talk to people about this, but I think that it's definitely important to express, and it might help other people as well that are in this process of neurogenesis, and attempting to heal, and not only heal but make themselves better, to put themselves in a new reality, to put themselves in a new way of being, right? And just, as a male as well, from my point of view, it just can be difficult just to deal with the opposite sex sometimes, and you might not have time for that, and in light of everything that you're trying to achieve, that might not be particularly there. So basically, the first step that I found to solving this was the following. It's a bit bizarre, right? So basically, this is like a flashlight, which is basically like a device that you engage in intercourse with. It's, you can see the size of it. It's pretty lengthy, and basically, it's designed internally to meet whatever requirements that you might have, and it's like just a thing that you fuck, basically, to put it simply, and it massages your penis as you stroke it, and engage with it in relation to intercourse in one sense or another. And basically what I found is that actually helps in mimicking sexual relations with the woman, which is important for the neurogenetic aspect, but it also adds a level of privacy, in case you're being silly, or in relation to the frequency that you may want to engage in something. It also enables you to have a higher level of experience, not higher than what you'd experience with a woman. Obviously, you never go higher than that, but just in relation to the social context. So sometimes it can take a long time to develop and nurture a relationship where you can actually engage in such a process to unlock all the required pathways to achieve a specific level of enlightenment or a specific level of operation that then you can, engage in restructuring your brain neural pathways. However, with this, they have it sort of designed so that it's molded behind whoever you like. So I've got like this one, which is like, I'm not gonna say who. No, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna mention their names, but there's definitely one or two artists that I like and I enjoy the process of. Yeah. So it's kind of bizarre. It's definitely very, very strange but it works, right? It works in achieving to the point structure and solving that problem of engaging and finding the necessary punani requirements, and just helps with just everything without having to stress too much. But it doesn't actually fully get you to those. It's a half-hearted solution that pretty much works for some aspect of things. So that's that. That's the flashlight that I engage in, and that like when I use it, sometimes like I don't like to use it when it's not the artist that that the mode belongs to. Because it feels like I'm like cheating. Like if you're using like a different artist, shit. But then again, at the same time, it is what it is. It works, and unfortunately, or fortunately, the artist is quite famous, and there's more than a few videos, so it's pretty much okay. But the point is that it's a means to a problem, right? Which is the sexual aspect of neurogenesis, or meeting that sexual requirement for neurogenesis in one sense or another. So that's definitely an important factor in the majority of things. So as again proceeding onwards with the conversation relating to the neurogenetic aspect of things, the sexual concept. So I demonstrated, or at least I showed the flashlight and how that also can be used as a tool to get past the issues that you may encounter when it comes to the sexual aspect of neurogenesis, when it comes to the sexual intercourse aspect of it. There's also another one, which is the what do they call it? The thrust, turbo thrust, I believe it's called. Basically, this mimics a blowjob when it comes to this aspect of things. So, it really helps to have, both the actual vaginal experience and the actual blowjob experience as well, because that way it really just helps to really, drive things to a particular level of experience. And there's a multitude of reasons why this could be helpful, but it just also helps enlighten the experience for oneself, and not only that, it's very important to just drive that aspect. You can see the size of it as well, and it has a specific type of mouthpiece there that like helps to enhance the experience for an individual. So again, that removes that blockage of frequency of communicate, or having to communicate, convince, and get someone to a particular level of thinking in order to undertake these activities, because you have these things there that can help you bridge that gap and basically enable you to get to a particular level of fulfillment as quickly and as effectively as possible, while enabling you to be free in understanding how to achieve that particular level of thought patterns that enable you to rewire the way you think during your learning processes, or whatever it is that you're undertaking when in need of actually alleviating yourself from that neurogenetic process, or those pathways. And also it just removes a lot of the interference as you get to the process of getting to know exactly what it is you're trying to achieve, exactly what it is you're trying to get out of the process. I think it really helps, and it's really beneficial in one sense or another. So I definitely recommend those two to help recreate the experience as best possible for any individuals who'd like to improve their learning process, who'd like to improve their own understanding, who'd like to improve the way that they restructure their own brain. The way that they restructure their own brain in order to achieve a particular level of enlightenment that enables them to shape it in the way that they achieve without with the particular level of healing that is away from their bounded and bonded reality, without having to worry too much about most of the things that we tend to do throughout these processes, and throughout these endeavors. In most situations, in essence. Blow, 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 blow. Pow, pow. Shank, shank. Straight in the forehead or something like that. I don't know, man. Joking. But then again, at the same time, I know that virtual reality is created for people to act how they normally wouldn't, or to behave as though they're in a alternate universe, which again at the same time I use it for similar concepts, but it's actually beyond that, because again at the same time I think it's a very cool thing, but again throughout this process of neurogenetic pathways, and I hope that in this process you can see that I'm not one of those people that tend to wait around for people. Not that to say that that's bad, but a lot of people have psychological issues, and they just really inhibit and try to take away from your own happiness and from the peace that you create for yourself. So again, at the same time, this is what I'll probably use this is what I intentionally use to create or recreate the sexual experience in one sense or another. So you can get things such as VR porn, which is pretty decent in one sense or another. And so you can have that particular experience within a particular realm in order to extend the body's understanding and the brain's also understanding of its own environment, by shaping the environment as differently as possible. And also with these particular devices as well, or with these particular things, you have that ability to recreate that particular, mimic that, so that the body can also be entrenched within this virtual reality, making it more real, more susceptible to it, with the blowjob experience, and also the vaginal experience and the flashlight there. So that really just helps to enhance in the process of what you're experiencing, and you can actually get the stars that are modeled behind these, within these particular virtual scenes, which really help mimic everything. And so just align the angles to the way that you want it, like magician trick of the trade kind of thing, like just shape it the way that you want it or need it, and then that way it actually looks quite like the way that you'd intend it to, or how you'd intend it to behave, which is pretty key. And depending on how good the stars are, some of them know how to use the VR thing properly. So if you have the correct earphones that actually enhance that process, binaural, or however the case it may be designed, it actually helps shape your understanding of things. It can help shape the ideological environment to experience that neurogenetic pathways, which is key to most things, and I think that there's definitely a lot that goes into this, in the process. But what you're trying to do is actually create the environment for the brain to be able to get as close as possible to what it is that you're seeking, without any interruptions, without any social contexts that may inhibit that. Because again, at the same time, as I mentioned, there's people that have that intent to limit and actually inhibit the process. So maybe women may be, the social aspect of are you good enough in bed, rather that which takes away from the experience, or them talking bad about you or negatively about you to other people relating to the actual, as you mentioned, the neurogenetic things and the things that you're trying to actually achieve, that can all get really problematic. So this way is a way of actually extending that period of time that you can take to actually find someone that cares enough, while also alleviating a lot of the stress that you can experience throughout that process, right? Which is very important and fundamental to everything. So when it comes to virtual reality, it's like these things are image generators, and there's these things called can't go to environments, which is the barrier that you try to limit. So there's this book here called The Fabric of Reality by some guy called David Duchet. Very smart guy, has a bunch of different things, and in here we sort of describe this headset machine, and we go into to great detail about it, how it functions, the general intentionality around it. And so with that, it sort of just helps shape things into perspective in relation to what it is that we're trying to achieve here, and some of the limitations. And basically, here there's a description of how one might implement it in the future, which is pretty much the same as what I have here. But what's actually happening is that the signals, because this one here is wired, right? Is this wired? Okay, now actually it's probably not wired. Signals of the image generator, signals for motion. So actually in this instance, I don't actually have a computer at present. But yeah, so that's basically one of the schematics of virtual reality, which is pretty key. So I definitely see this in this. It has like the ability to sense and see things beyond what actually is. At present, so you can see in that book there, it sort of defines those things there. And there's this thing called a can't go to environment, which are basically like environments or limits to environments where the rendering is limited by the general device. But I feel that I can overcome those limitations simply in one sense or another. So pretty much with this device here, I feel like I can overcome those sensory limitations within the can't go to environments, because basically I can't go to the actual sexual aspect of things, or I can't go into the actual experience of the sexual or into the sexual experience, because I'm limited. But with this, I can actually bypass, or at least I can further extend that virtual reality aspect of things, and it's quite difficult to understand why or how, but it's quite simply put, just as one can just define here, it's once you got this like this, you can actually create those environments or mimic the experience to a much go. So while the pussies that can't go to environment, you can actually limit that and make it a go-to environment, and extend that and create that environment within the virtual reality to actually augment the experience and make it much more realistic in one sense or another, which is a very powerful thing from my perspective of things. It's enlightening, but not to the degree. It helps with the neurogenetic process by making it more realistic and bringing you closer to what it is that you're trying to achieve within that process, right? And again, it helps by alleviating the social contexts that you may experience while attempting to restructure your neural pathways, whether it be psychological or sociological, because it takes time to actually find a perfect person, a perfect partner to experience these things with. However, with this, you have that ability to recreate that however way you please, with a blowjob. So with the virtual reality handset, whilst the standing up experience, the standing up experiences, while getting a BJ, etc., or the sex, any sexual position where you're pretty much standing up, or if you have, I don't know, you can stick this in multiple different environments, but you can mimic that, and actually have quite a go-to environment, and again and enhance that experience to other levels possible. So that solves aspects of that, right, which is very important and key to everything in this. And there's also one or two more things that I'd like to discuss regarding this, but I feel like those are the things that solve the majority of those problems to a degree, until a point in time one maybe has a partner that they can experience this with, or just use it as a tool to bypass that limit within the neurogenesis process. So another thing is, anxiety, calmness, all that type of stuff plays a big part in a lot of this. And like I think that even when coming, if you spend it on, like, I had issues, like I've got like a bunch of videos where I talk about this. I put most of them on private though, but they were there, which I might show another time, or re-examine. But basically, I was talking about how, like, the whole coming process became quite difficult, especially when masturbating and things like that. And I just felt that was because that a big part of it was missing, etc. And I also felt that as well a bit in the VR thing as well. But I think that, to help achieve, or to help get that closeness feeling that's necessary, like a weighted blanket, or a weighted robe, which I tried to order, but they're not shipping those for some strange reason. I actually sent my money like more than a few months ago, and they've just been quiet about it. They haven't actually said anything. It's just been really horrible. But again, at the same time, you can get the same effect with the same feeling. You can get the same concept with the weighted blanket. And that just helps really bring that, because the whole neurogenic thing is not about the sexual experience as well. I think like that feeling of being close to people, being close to something is very important, is very valued and very necessary. And also just helps to internalize, so that when you do come, you're not losing so much. Rather, it helps keep it in. It helps maintain it within you, and and you lose, like, you have some value of self. They say that they say a lot about these blankets. That they help with HDHD, anxiety when you're coming, if you're experiencing that for whatever reason. If you're experiencing that for whatever reason, these can help. Or if you're just experiencing like a sense of spatial awareness due to VR, or whatever the case may be, just like watching all the time, if that's what you're undergoing, because sometimes you can be in these difficult situations, and so these blankets can help. I feel like the weighted rope would help even more, because that will help you with the maneuverability, etc. But I don't really have that at the moment, or if I used one to actually comment and actually say that it does. But again, weighted blankets really help, and they just really help drive that point home throughout that process of neurogenetic, and really help with also just alleviating those neural pathways, because that orgasm, or at least that coming point, is definitely something really important. And you can experience various different issues relating to that at times. Even like for me, when I stop and I jam and stuff, that's because that I'm having some type of neurological problems, or something's occurring, and again, these things can really help, in the sense of that, just like really help, just like as you come, because again, like as I mentioned before, that nothing would ever actually beat the concept of a woman, right? Nothing would ever go past that. However, and I think it's just because that I'm actually thinking this, so like parts of it actually alleviates and actually gets a bit better in a sense, in relation to my neural synapses, as information passes back and forth between those. Yeah, so that's pretty much that, really. So yeah, so you can get like a weighted blanket. You can get these from, you can get them from Amazon. Like I have the company Gravity. They're fucking bullshit, man. Worst shit ever, fam. I wouldn't even recommend that to buy weighted robes from there. I wouldn't recommend. There's a few other companies though that are doing weighted robes, but they're very few. So I always recommend any of those. Some of them might be a bit more expensive or a bit more less. I don't know if you can find these weighted robes on Amazon as well, which Amazon is always the greatest stockers and shippers, you know. Definitely much better than anything else. If companies aren't using Amazon, they should definitely look into to getting some type of contract with Amazon, as it's very helpful in one sense or another. So that's that pretty much. Yeah, so that's one aspect of it. And then now I'm just gonna talk about, so yes, I definitely recommend the weighted robes, that I add that extra bit of what's missing. But it will never get as close to a woman, but it really helps in just like assisting you in that process. I'm not gonna talk about the sites that I use at the moment, or where to get this type of porn, but again, at the same time, you know, I had the you know, there's definitely a few places. I'm not gonna talk too much about that right now. But yeah, that's pretty much that, really. I think that this just really helps in the overall process to getting you closer to that can't go environment and making it more realistic, with the things that I've described within these videos, or within these particular videos, or you know, just like detailing everything within this video to ensure that, like, you know, there's that reassurance or concept to actually be able to recreate this in the best manner possible and get past those blockers, or things that may limit your capability of achieving a level of neurogenesis within your training processes, because it is actually important, not only for healing, but also for a multitude of things. You know, I don't know why this blanket's making me get all glitchy and stuff, but yeah, it's definitely important. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful so far. So last but not least, you know, like how is very important in most of this. You know, and I think that just discussing is very important. So, you know, if you've got your things together, now you're thinking, how can you make the best of the experience? And I think that this book here would help you make the most of this stuff if you choose to do so, right? So you're gonna want to maximize that sexual energy. Trust me, in order to get that to that brain section there, and then once you got that, you can then actually start to utilize it effectively within those neuropathic within those neural pathways. And I think that this book really helps a lot. You know, it's Tayo's teachings that really help guide you throughout the process of, not only that, you know, on top of that, you also learn how to last longer if you wish to do so, as you're actually undertaking this, right? So you actually learn quite a lot. There's so much. I'm not talking about the book too much in this instance, but you learn a lot about your own anatomy. You learn a lot about what you're doing, and you don't have to feel stupid while doing it. You know, because some women will just look at you stupid, bruv. Like, they'll just look at you crazy, you know. They'll laugh at you to other dudes that they're fucking. You know, they'll do all sorts of madness, fam. They won't really understand what it is that you're trying to do. You know, you learn about your own anatomy. You learn about the lungs, how the lungs are connected to the rest of the body, especially how the sexual process actually undertakes. I didn't know that there was you've got like a diaphragm there. You've got a few diagrams that help you sort of understand what's going on. And you really get the time to really think about it as well as you're undergoing the process. You really get that time. If you focus properly, your mental state, you're able to actually correctly utilize the information and the processes themselves, which is key to most, if not everything. This diagram, I think, is one of the most important ones. Let me see here. So there's a couple, but basically it's about prolonging it, and you start to experience and you feel what it's like when you're getting close, and then when you learn to control that, it's actually it's cool. When you learn to control, because the thing is, when you're coming, you don't actually know that you're coming, but once you know and you're comfortable doing that a couple of times, it becomes less stressful, becomes so much more simpler. These things here which look a bit odd, but actually quite valid. The power locking, etc. Stances, which you can take to practice, just like the energetic flows. So to actually control that feeling and move it up your chest to different parts of the body. You can move it to the through the different chakras, or to the belly as well. You can move it to different places. But yeah, it's definitely very important, and you can have a good time while doing it. I ain't gonna chat shit to nobody. And here you can see here how you can work with the energy that's actually comes from you, and extend that all the way upwards through the spine, etc. Through those energetic workflows into the actual brain, right? And when that energy gets to the brain, you actually have the ability to restructure your neural pathways. And as you're generating new brain cells, in a sense, which actually happens, you actually feel it, and it's weird, it's scary, it's somewhat scary. Yeah, it is somewhat scary to a degree. It's definitely different, but then again, it just really helps to rid that. And it sounds really weird as well. It sounds somewhat silly, but I feel as though that there's actually that when that happens, and the neural pathways sort of restructure, or at least they light up, right? And and it can be quite scary as well. Not having a female there, but again, at the same time, women who would laugh at you and know would they actually understand it. And and once you have an understanding of what the actual structure of that is, you can then learn to strengthen specific muscles. You can learn to strengthen specific things, and actually, you start to understand, like, wow, like, this is actually how this works. You can actually have like points in your structure of the body that you actually alleviate energy, right? And that energy is just like dispensing that need to come. And when you have control over that, it's actually quite powerful and very good. And so for me, I've actually like felt varying things, like sometimes the head of the penis can actually get like really thick, or like really like stronger kind of thing. It's very weird. And then when you do actually come, like, you actually feel some type of difference. Sometimes you can go like 3 days without coming, or fuck knows how long. Like, even like this. It's all in the book, right? 3 days, about some people go way longer than that, or You can go quite a while. There's a difference between what you can do with your hands and the experience that you have with the uh, this, which helps in being able to train without being made to feel silly or stupid. Because women won't really understand that. They'll laugh, like I said, and tell your private business to other people, which is not really thing. People are not really sensitive in that manner. So having these things helps to be able to do that on your own, without really practicing too much. And the cock rings as well, which help in the process while you're practicing that. It just helps really understand, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to control that orgasm point, or at least get comfortable with that, so when that's happening, and your penis is comfortable with that. Just like working around that process, and just becoming, and your body as well is comfortable with that, or trying to get that. It's better with the weighted blanket. You need the weighted blanket or weighted rope, but some just help, because again, at the same time, it's strange feelings. Things are all new. And again, with the cock rings, you get a better experience, and you just have a better understanding of this as well, so you won't feel silly or stupid using these with someone, because you have to fuck someone about 7 times before you properly understand, or at least a couple more times, before you properly understand how to use these properly. Whereas if you're practicing on your own, it actually helps a lot in just solving that out. You don't have to spend money on women that won't judge you or anything like that, because again, that's fucking expensive sometimes. And again, you won't really have to suffer the social consequences of having to be this silly or stupid with somebody. You know how it is in these bits here. But that's pretty much that really. Another thing as well, I just wanted to share these as well. Like, I found that these are pretty interesting to take. Like with these, like, I can't. It's very difficult to not come, sort of thing. Like, you're sort of put in this position where you're gonna wanna come most of the time. So if you can practice with these, I would commend you. Depending on how long you can go, how long you can last with these, but they really help with that process and just getting a better understanding of that. I wouldn't do it with Viagra or anything like that, but it's definitely different things that can help throughout that, and just help you have a better experience as well. These are great. Yeah, these are great. I definitely recommend those to anyone. So you see, like, just like these little glitches are bad, man. I don't really know what that is, but I feel like it's just the neurogenetic pathways that are just functioning in a different manner. It's like it's very weird, but I think hopefully throughout the process, as I mentioned, it's a process of mind, body, spirit, and diet, or soul and diet, and throughout that, you really get to that better process. But then again, it's just having that thing of just being like fully oneself, and just experimenting and having fun is the key part of it, is what I'd say. But yeah, man, I definitely say that. Yeah, man, it's like it's crazy, man, especially with this. Like right now, I'm not really reading it because I have to do like some other stuff. I focus on some other things at the moment. But when I'm and I'm not really doing much, because I'm really having like, yeah. But then again, when you got this and you're reading this and you're going through that, it's really amazing, and you see yourself getting some level of progress, and you see yourself actually, being comfortable without being too worried. And then when you throw these in the mix, it just throws that a bit more down, and then you have to sort of climb back up in relation to like how long you can have that discipline not to come. And yeah, it's an overall great experience. But that's pretty much it, really, that I was intending to share with you today. Relating these things which I've experienced and that I've discovered and that I've found that are helpful for me personally. Like, at the end of the day, pretty much it's just me in a sense, I don't really have anyone. I don't have any women. I know that, my phone's always going off, but those are just some rubbish notifications that are just not rubbish in a sense. It's like, emails from whatever places, but nothing really major. I don't really have many friends, even online. Like, I have one or two, but I don't know if you want to consider them friends. because they're not really there for the long haul. Like you can lose them as quickly as you gain them online, in a sense, because with these communities you tend to just get banned over reasons that you have no clue about. Well, maybe not. I think just moving around and getting a better understanding. But like, yeah, man, it's just basically me, really, and I don't really have anyone for that social aspect, which is also important. And I don't really want many people, because I feel like people would just abuse aspects of my nature. So I keep a really small group of people around me, and that impacts my mind as well. I don't even call them small groups of people, man. It's just me, and I think I'm comfortable with it just being me, and having that ability to expand my circles as and when needed, because I know that the world external to me is not closed off to me. I know how to use particular environments and things to just like get a thing, but then I think that having that sexual thing as a blocker, as a limitation, was definitely a big thing, and I felt that this helps me alleviate that and reduce that requirement, or that strain upon my life, or my self-being, which enables me to be more fuller, and and the key thing was to bypass the limitations, within the neurogenetic aspect of things. And there's so much I don't understand, but I know that I have the books, I have the information to be granted to me that enables me to reach these higher levels. It's not. I'm not abandoned, right? Like I'm not alone, because within these books and texts that I have, I know that there's information that is made for me, so that as I move forward and I progress onwards in life, and not only in life but just in my endeavors, I am, I'm supported. Though the people aren't necessarily there, but they don't really need to be there at this present moment in time. But it's the skills and the things that they teach me that will enlighten me to meet and extend my life force, and be better, in a sense, in relation to the things that I do, and to the people that I get to meet within my journey. So I think that's definitely key in all of this. And like I said, man, like, great stuff in here. Anything I don't know, and I've always felt like, limited by sex. Like, that sexual thing has always been a big factor. Has always been a big factor in my life. And I have this as well, support me with most of the things that I need to understand about realities, the questions that I've always had, that have plagued me, or things that I feel like I don't really fully understand. They're all explained to me, so that I can have, when I take those initial steps out into the wider world, I have these things with me, right? They've been told to me, and they've been given to me, so that I can be in the right position. And all this is through the guidance and wisdom of God. And I know that some of the things that I'm saying are ungodly, but I think that I feel that this wisdom is not God wisdom, or God. This wisdom is not like not God given wisdom. This is God given wisdom and knowledge, because these are things that I've struggled with and I've had a strain with, and as such I'm being alleviated and guided towards the right path, by maybe not directly, but maybe by my guardian angels and things of that nature. Just like my creativity within my own mind, or my own abilities and capabilities, that have been granted to me, which enable me to be in a safer place, to be more emotionally healthy, and more spiritually aware, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it, really, and I hope you enjoy this description and explanation of how you can sort of make things better for yourself in one sense or another, and not limit yourself, and yeah, and to experience the process of neurogenesis, which I recommend to most people, if not everyone. If you feel as though that you haven't quite taken the best care of your mind, whether it be through drugs, weed, or whatever, it may be.
Is that these bitches is like boss. She out there handling her business. She ain't saying, why you call me bitch? She clowning, you know, and that's what you do. That's how you show and prove. Bet no nigga gonna fuck with her. If you call yourself a bitch, who can call you a bitch? Niggas need to stop giving these bitches all the attention. That's why niggas is dying now. When these hoes get horny, niggas die. Hoes get horny, niggas die. Watch, every time. Every funeral you go to, it's a bitch that was horny the night before. So you need to start checking these bitches, keep your dick in. Niggas need to go back to the OG penitentiary days and start jacking off. Because if you don't, you're going to end up killing each other. We're going to all die. We got to start saying, fuck these bitches, man. If you fucking with a cool female, that's all good. But if you fucking with a bitch, you need to break her ass and shake her ass.